Today's the day to clear karmic blocks. Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. It's an opportunity for us to have a spiritual conversation regarding a topic involving either spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, or more. And this is year 7 of Wednesdays with Willa. So you've got lots of archived videos of the shows, of past shows that you can watch to your heart's content. Many people tell me they binge watch the shows and enjoy them immensely, and they're getting a lot out of them, even though they don't watch them live. Other people, thank you so much for joining us live. Please feel free to share your positive comments. This goes out on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium, and also the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel. So you've got lots of different places that you can tune in. Please like, share, subscribe, so we can keep these shows coming to you. So without further ado, I will introduce our topic for today, which is the energy and science of clearing karmic blocks. And to that end, I've invited on the show today, Sandra Anne Taylor. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Willa. Nice to see you again.
Always a pleasure. And I'm just thrilled that you can be with us today to explain about this. You have an upcoming workshop for the 2024 Lilydale summer season to discuss even more in depth this particular topic. But we're going to give people some very practical understandings of how to deal with karmic blocks to get them started. And for those of you who don't know who Sandra Anne Taylor is, she is an international speaker, an author, a counselor, and as I said, a 2024 Lilydale workshop presenter, although she's been presenting for years here in Lilydale. We're very blessed to have her here pretty much every year, I think.
Pretty much every year for the last 20 years, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And Sandra Anne Taylor is a New York Times bestselling author of Quantum Success, Your Quantum Breakthrough Code, The Hidden Power of Your Past Lives, and Akashic Records Made Easy. And you can find more about her at sandrataylor.net. And there is a post to tickets to her 2024 Lilydale workshop event. But we'll be talking later in the show more in depth about what that workshop is and how you can take part in it. So without further ado, Sandy, let's talk to them about what is a karmic block? What is all this about? How can we change things if we want to?
Well, people get so frustrated because they keep running into the same problems. They keep having the same issues in terms of having meeting unavailable men, having financial issues, making just enough to get by, or maybe not even making that. And they don't understand, why can't I accumulate wealth? Why can't I meet someone who's available and fully present? And it happens over and over and over again. And when we see patterns like that, we try to work on ourselves and we try to change it from the inner nature of our energy. And you can make changes that way. But it's also good to know that this could be a karmic pattern, a karmic issue, a past life issue that influences us. And people say, well, how does that happen? What happens is that your personality goes through these different lifetimes. And if it makes sense. Some people don't believe in reincarnation, but it makes sense when you study quantum physics. Nothing just ends. It changes, it transforms. Energy doesn't just end. So all this energy that is beautiful Willa White and, Sandy Taylor and all the different people, that doesn't just end when we pass. That soul goes forward and then moves into another existence. Okay, I could give I'm not going to go, but people don't even know that Jesus believed in reincarnation. I think it was Matthew, he said, someone asked him who John the Baptist was, and he said, I tell you, he is Elias come again. Now, what can that mean? Elias was a prophet from the Old Testament. What does that mean? He means Elias is reborn here. Anyway, so the influence of past life experiences gets coded in our consciousness. And that happens from highly charged emotional events, both positive and negative. because, when we meet that person that is a soulmate and a true soulmate, because we can meet a soulmate, and soulmate does not mean that that's the person we're destined to stay with. Okay. It's a lesson mate. Okay. But there can be a true soulmate. And that means you're reliving an idyllic life relationship from a past. Okay. So that's what these experiences are, positive and negative. Mm-hmm. So if you were left at the altar in a past life and spent the whole rest of that life longing for that person, and then also coding, men can't be trusted and it's not safe to love, you could come into this life not dating, being isolated, feeling like I want to date, but in your encoded consciousness is moving out and saying men can't be trusted. I want to save myself, protect myself. And then when you meet the person that left you at the altar in this life, you have this longing. I actually had a client who became a stalker because she met the person who abandoned her in a past life. We changed that right away.
Oh my goodness. I think that's so important to recognize that people can change their behaviors and change their lives, and they can
absolutely
enter into that. And I just thought I would add in, when it comes to a person's soul mate, we have soulmates that are part of our soul group. And when we meet with them, we feel this connection. There's this instantaneous click that happens. And, it's so beautiful because it's not just about the romantic soulmate energy that we're talking about. This can be other folks that are in your life, your parents, siblings, friends that are part of that soul group.
Right. Absolutely. And yes, and in fact, anyone that teaches us an important lesson is a soulmate, and anyone who supports us throughout our lives, or in significant, crucial moments of our lives, those can be soulmates too. So I totally agree. So here's the thing that people don't realize. So they think, well, so what if it's karma? What can I do about that? I mean, that's stuck.
Because that word comes up, karma. What is karma? And it sounds so much like, from India, the wheel of life that you're stuck on, like a gerbil wheel, that sort of thing. But the karma can also happen in your current life. It's not something that's just about the past life, which we'll get into, but also about that current life and what energy are you putting forward today?
Now that's right.
That's what's so important about what Sandy's going to be sharing with us today, of how to clear that in your current life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because there are a few things people need to know. Karma is not punishment. Karma is going to get you. It's not punishment. It's just, if you're talking about past life karma, it's a return of your energy, which is why it is so important to know what you're doing today, because if you're putting out negative energy, you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to return. Okay. So that is a consciousness that we have to create. Karma is also not episodic. It's not like every time I hurt someone, I have to come back and be hurt. No. Karma is issue related. Once you learn the issue, once you understand the importance, the meaning of the value of life, the value of compassion, once you get the lesson, every single karmic experience is cleared in that lesson. So it's important to know that we can change that. We can change that energy and really allow ourselves to focus on what we're doing now. If we can shift the past, we can find out what the past is. That's one of the things I'm doing in Lilydale, shifting it and moving forward and understanding what we can do in this life is part of karmic healing.
That's beautiful. And knowing that you don't have to remain stuck, that you're not just constantly forced to read the same script in the play. The play changes from day to day. So you're not doing a multi-year run.
Yes.
The same night. We're doing the same
over and over the same play. I actually talk about
living versus lucid dream, like lucid dreaming. We get to have lucid living.
Yes, lucid living. That's right. I like that. I like that phrase. I actually talk about how the soul feels like we're actors in a play. And so the soul, it is not like tormented the way we are. The soul's like, learn it, let it go, and then move on to the next play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're a bit in this improv.
Yeah.
What is going on?
It's mostly improv.
And when it comes to noticing these patterns, I think you're absolutely right when it comes to recognizing patterns, the ones that are unhealthy, letting go of those, and the ones that are healthy and keeping those, growing those, cultivating those healthy patterns. So it sounds simplistic to say it that way, but it really is that simple, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's very important to make it simple.
Yes.
Because then you can shift your consciousness. If the more complicated and layered it is, the simpler you have to make it. Mm-hmm. So if you find out, oh, I've had, 10 past lives as a nun, and that's why I'm not attracting a guy because I made a vow of celibacy a million times. You make it simple. Make it simple. It's safe and comfortable for me to connect with someone on a romantic level. That's it. I don't have to hold on to any past intentions and limitations.
Right, because what we've declared, there's a declarative energy, even if it's not been verbally spoken. There's a pattern that you're laying down by your thoughts. And right. You know a lot about that law of attraction, the law of resonance, the creative reality, and spiritual natural law, and how it's at work in every person's life. Yeah. And I think what's so beautiful is that we can shift out of those old patterns. A lot of it seems to rely on recognizing when we're having an aggressive emotional response, because I've noticed that when a person has that, myself or you, anybody, when we have an aggressive emotional response about something, it actually cements the karmic entanglement further.
Oh, yes. Yes. In fact, resentment is like a karmic glue. If you resent someone, I don't care, I had a client who's had been divorced for 17 years, and she's like, oh, that son of a, brat. And she, and she would talk about him like this, and I said, well, you got to let go. You got to let go. And she's like, we've been divorced for 17 years. I don't care about him. But you can feel it in the energy, you can hear it. I said, you've got to do some venting letters, because I guarantee you may not see him, hear from him, but you think about him and you resent him in every thought. So that is karmic glue. That person is going to be stuck to you for lifetimes until you choose to let go of the resentment.
Yeah, a big part of that is moving into a space of grace, because grace transcends karma. The law of grace really does assist.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it's stepping into forgiveness. And what I tell clients is that ultimately, it's not about whether someone apologizes to us or not. It'd be nice, it'd be great if they make amends or whatever, but it's not going to be about that. And you need to forgive for selfish reasons so that you don't have to carry it anymore.
Right.
Because that's a karmic burden that you put upon yourself ultimately, to have that reaction and to carry it. So the forgiveness is an important part of releasing those karmic blocks, correct?
It is. And a lot of people don't know that a part of the forgiveness is venting. See, she never vented. And I recommended venting letters, and which is not one long letter. It's like little entries in your journal that whenever you think of the person and something bubbles up to the surface, some anger or something, and you just get it out. Dear so-and-so, I can't believe you said this, blah, blah, blah. But you always end those with a releasing and empowering statement.
Okay.
Letting go of all that negative energy. And I am reclaiming my power. I'm reclaiming my self-esteem, my optimism for the future. So many people walk around just getting through the day and having no excitement, no optimism, because it's been sucked dry either by people that have used them, or jobs that they resent, or just find boring or whatever. And they don't realize that they're setting a karmic path by staying in this, energy of expecting life to be a burden. We need to change that.
We do need to change that. I think that's a really important step. The venting, but what must also be part of that is, as you said, that affirmation. Can you repeat that affirmation for folks today? So
any kind of, you'd follow it with a releasing and empowering statement. So any kind of, I'm letting all this negative energy go. I'm releasing the attachment, I'm releasing limitation, whatever you want to release. And then I'm reclaiming my power. I'm reclaiming my enthusiasm, my hope for the future. I'm reclaiming my peace of mind, my self-esteem, whatever applies to the various thing that you just wrote. Mm-hmm. And it's very powerful.
So let's do the venting with that statement, because without that statement, you've just started into the pity party. You've just started into the spewing of the venom to the universe, and we need to replace it with the true stabilizing statement, as you said.
Right.
That replaces it. So they're not constantly ruminating on their problem.
Right.
They move forward.
Yeah, and it not only gets the energy out, it's good to get the energy out. And that's why because if you write it, and you could do it on your computer, but it's much more powerful writing, I think. But if you write it, that's better than if it stays in your head, it's an endless loop tape. So if you get it out and then you follow it with these statements, the statements are designed to reverse the beliefs. Because if you continually get negative treatment from a mother, a father, a spouse, a friend, whatever, it starts to make you believe that life is hopeless. I'm not deserving. Yeah, let's reclaim our deserving, because a lot of people have that to reclaim, that type of thing. So these releasing and empowering statements are designed to shift the beliefs that came from the emotions of the thing we're venting.
Beautiful. I think people are really liking what they're hearing here, because there's hope with that. And there's also, that's an action step that they can take.
It is an action step.
So it's not just, as you said, letting that loop eternally in their being, that on an energetic level, and maybe even on an epigenetic level.
Yeah.
That they can release about those and find a freedom from it energetically. Mm-hmm. So that's a big part of the energy of releasing and clearing those karmic blocks.
Yes. And that's the thing. The people that we have intense connections with, we usually have a karmic connection with. Whether it's positively intense or negatively intense, we usually have some sort of karmic connection, and we want to release that now. I mean, even doing just these venting letters will help to release the karma. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. People are very confused about, well, if it's already happened, if they believe in reincarnation and they understand the energy of karma, they think, well, if it's already happened, how can you change it? That's history. But you can change the energy of it. And that's one of the things I teach, is that you can rescript it. You can take the life where you were left at the altar and visualize yourself not saying yes to that guy and moving on. And you do this in meditation. And then you visualize, meditate, see yourself meeting someone else, getting married, having a long, healthy, happy life with that person. And so it shifts the energy, and then you support it with affirmations like, it's safe and comfortable for me to love and be loved, and trust and be trusted. And when you do this shifting along with the affirmations, and then support it with your intentions in this life, if you don't want to, if you're trying to change your love karma, you don't sit in your house and watch TV. You got to meet people. If it's safe and comfortable, sometimes it's very hard for people. People find it very hard to have the courage, if they've had this negative experience, a difficult relationship in this life or any past life. And so it takes some courage.
Oh, and that's an excellent point, because people want to just sort of go into their little nest where it's comfortable, and they expect that one of the delivery services will just bring it to their doorstep, but they actually have to go and engage in life. And when people, especially sensitives, right? Sensitives, people who are intuitive, people who are empathic, it can be even more of a challenge to get themselves out of that introverted state and into the living in the world. But that's where that happens, and where you really start to move past anxieties and into the true living. The experience of living and setting aside those anxieties, those fears, and bringing hope to their new and old relationships as they need to.
Yeah, and I have to, you mentioned introverted, and you had mentioned before about being aware of, aggressive energy. We have to be conscious of our passive and introverted energy too, because that's just as much of a lesson. For there are as many people who become aggressive and hostile. For every one of them, there's another person who has the habit of caretaking and shutting down and shutting up and not communicating because they were, told in this life and past lives, we don't want to hear from you. What you have to say isn't valuable. And so that's just as much of a message. So I'm glad you mentioned getting out of your introverted, because that's just as much of a message of a past life lesson.
Oh, I'm glad that you took us a little deeper into that, because I think there are a lot of people listening today that relate with that at some point in their lives, or even right now. They're in the midst of it. And I think there's a place for giving, being of service to others, and really stopping short of enabling bad behavior.
Right.
Can happen in that, and getting to a place of compassion for themselves and others, and really being involved not just in that self-awareness, but in that self-mastery that comes in these moments. We sometimes do take a back seat to others, and we have to do that willingly and without resentment, because if it's attached to the resentment, karma.
Yeah. Right. But these people have to know that it's normal to have resentment. I mean, if you just have to vent it. Sometimes you have to deal with it. When my mom, went into a home, and just before we were, taking care of her, seeing her every day, it disrupted our lives entirely. And we loved her and wanted to do it. But, by the 50th time you're doing this, you're like, oh my God. So you have to get it out in your journal, do those releasing and empowering statements, and just say, I forgive myself, because there are times when it's normal, but you have to get it out and release it. So the energy that we take with us on our day-to-day life, there are different patterns that we move into and out of. We just have to deal with it, at the time. And as you said, just be conscious of it and have the energy consciousness that says, okay, I'm taking care of this now.
So I'm so glad that you said that too, because so many of us would say, well, I don't want to be too human, because then I get into troubles. I get into these unqualified energy spaces of fear or worry, or resentment or anger, or those kinds of things. And it's not about if it's going to happen. It's a when that's going to happen.
Absolutely. There are always disruptions life. It's about balance.
Yes.
It's all about balance. And sometimes, like during tax season for an accountant, things get unbalanced. Imbalance is a part of life, and that you're going to deal with it, and then you figure out ways to take care of it, especially if it's long term. But you always ask yourself, does this honor me? And if it honors me, this is my mother and I want to take care of her. Yes, it honors me. Yes, I'm bubbling up with resentment and frustration, but yes, if you can answer yes to that, no matter how the emotional undercurrent is, then it's okay. You'll bring back balance when you can.
And people in those moments shouldn't be too worried that they have this extra karma that's been woven into their tapestry during that time. just let it go and know that it doesn't have to be build up like a mound under the rug.
Yeah.
Because if you're following what Sandy says, then you are venting and you're following it up immediately with your statement. So you're taking an action step that will keep you out of being passive aggressive or into that rumination that could be so damaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually reduces reinforcing your karma.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a powerful present tool that actually can apply to the past and then reach out to the future.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's so much of the powerful energy that's the backdrop to understanding about clearing the karmic blocks. In terms of the science, what have you seen out there in terms of the science and people following through with these?
Well, everyone has had a deja vu experience. I'm sure you've had deja vu. Almost everyone has had a deja vu experience. How does this happen? How do you go into a place that you've never ever been in and have a flash of I've been here before, or you're having a conversation and the next phrase. It's only little things that that we have deja vu things, and it's a flash, but it's so profound. It's so profound. Well, how does that happen? This explains past and future knowledge. Okay. What happens is our astral body goes out. Now, people who are listening, don't freak out. Your astral body will always come home.
Yes, we are tethered by the solar cord. We are not a balloon that's going to be let go.
Yeah, no. And we just explore the past. And that's why people have dreams, and they're actually past life dreams. And we explore the future. And what happens is we just kind of visiting and recognizing things. And then we come back into this body, and then we walk through linear time. And then we find ourselves at this place we visited astrally. And it's like, I've been here before. And it's because you have. You have been there before. And that's how we can change our past lives as well. What happens is you can actually, like I said, by the rescripting, picture yourself doing something different, and it changes the energy that is following you through time. Now, all of time, if you study science, the quantum physical theory of the time-space continuum, you will find that they believe all time exists at the same time. Now, how can that be? What that means is the past is vibrating at a different energy, and the future is vibrating. And when we move through linear time, we are in a dense vibration from moment to moment. And so the moments we left behind at the beginning of our conversation about aggressive behavior or whatever, that is still vibrating. And that's good. A good thing if it's a good it's a good talk. But the future only vibrates in potential. Okay. If we notice, all our deja vu moments are these teeny little moments that don't matter. No one has a deja vu while they're walking down the aisle. No one has a deja vu when they're like, in a difficult, really, catastrophic experience. It's because the little things don't have to change. We still have the power to change the big events in our future by virtue of our present energy and even clearing up past energy. So that is the power that we have to it's nothing is set in stone for the future. It's just these little things that, that doesn't matter, but it was interesting, So that's the nature of time. And so we can go back and change time. We can go future and investigate it. And that's, in some ways, that's what, psychics and mediums and people who see the future kind of do. They're investigating. But everybody knows that when we give predictions, I don't like the word predictions, but when you give a sense of what could happen, it's always only based on the energetic potential of today's energy.
That's right.
Only. It's today's energy, the person you're reading for, the global energy, the environment. It's today's energy. Based on that potential is what we are seeing the likelihood of, not the certainty of.
Oh, that is crucial for people to understand,
Yeah,
because
it's very important.
they can feel very locked in, or they think that just because they had a glimmer of something, or maybe a psychic told them something,
Yeah.
they have to recognize that they have free will, and
Mhm.
all that is seen is maybe a higher probability of outcome.
Yep.
That the future hasn't happened yet, that we can touch a little into it, but it's you have to wait till it happens.
Yeah.
Again, we're not reading from a script.
Right.
This is improv, folks. So, most of the time I feel that future prediction is only possible because people will stick to their patterns.
Right.
And we're like, well, so-and-so always does this, so that's how they'll probably always act, and this is what I usually do, and so this is how I will probably take an action step.
Yeah.
We have a choice. Even if something was 99.999% probability of happening, we still have that little bit of making something in a different choice happen.
Yeah, and that's part of the value of looking into the future. If we see something we don't like, we can change our energy now.
Yeah.
We can pivot and oh, well, this is the wrong choice, or that's the wrong direction, that's the wrong goal, or I'm not engaging in honoring self-talk or honoring behavior. We can pivot, and we can change what the outcome is. We can absolutely change that.
And there's such a balancing act that happens between what I call living the short game and living the long game. So you're playing this game of life, and so people are wanting that knee-jerk reaction to things, and if you pause and try to understand what their spiritual response could be, should be, then they're more likely to be aware of the long game that they're playing and avoid potential karmic blocks and pitfalls and issues. We can't always anticipate what everybody else is going to do, but if we can get hold of our own reaction, our own responses to it, makes a big difference going forward. So you don't have as much to clear.
Right. No. And in fact, they're creating, not only do they have less to clear, they're creating a higher potential for happiness over and over again throughout this life and in future lives. And
they're laying down good karma. That's a good karma all over the place. So it's a beautiful thought and understanding, and I'm glad that you leaned into some of those things for folks today. What are some other tips that you'd like to share with people about clearing their karmic blocks?
Well, one thing is to just notice their present habits. If you have an addiction, whether it's to food or alcohol, cigarettes, TV, whatever, if you have something that very strongly draws you in and then limits you, that is, an addiction. And addictions start off fine at the beginning. They're not, when you just have a few drinks here and there, or when you have a chocolate hot fudge sundae or whatever, it's not a big deal. When you have several a day, it becomes a big deal. So when you notice your patterns, you can look. There are so many indicators of past life stuff. Addictions and phobias are very, very big past life indicators. You don't come in with an addiction to something and not have something similar happen in the past. Now, you might think, well, there was no TV in the past, so if I'm addicted to TV or game playing, then how the hell can that have happened, right?
Right.
But the fact is, there is something in the past, whether it was addiction to reading or gambling or something like that. There was something similar in the past, even if it wasn't technologically similar. So what we need to do, what we can do is work on the addiction now. We can say, okay, what behavior honors me? We can make a plan to, eat better, exercise more, whatever. But we can also look at past life. I've had so many people who have had weight issues and food addiction issues, who have had hunger and starvation and just real huge lives of lack in the past, where they didn't have enough to eat. I had one, more than one person, a couple people that were living in the Irish potato famine. And they literally saw everyone die around them and eventually died themselves. And they were constantly hungry, always hungry. Even now, here's the thing. When we have a food addiction, we can have an emotional eating habit where we eat when we're bored, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, when we're sad. That's emotional eating. And for most of us, if we really analyze it, we can tell the difference between being physically hungry and eating emotionally. Mm-hmm. However, I've seen with people who have past life starvation and this life, overweight, over food addiction, which is, by the way, let me just take a little detour here. This is called a life of compensation. When at any extreme in the past life, any extreme, you come back, there's such a deep, deep need or longing for something, you come back and overdo it. It's like a pendulum swinging and getting stuck. And you know what happens in that karma? If you don't deal with it in this life, you'll swing back and be hungry next time. It's going to happen until you really get it straight, get it balanced. And I've seen so many people who have had this type of life where they couldn't get rid of the physical longing. They felt physically hungry until we did the rescripting. We analyzed what's going on, because they were so consistently physically hungry, because it stayed as a physical component in this life. And this is another interesting thing about past lives. We have cellular memory, and people think, well, we have a different body. So how could our cells remember the trauma that has happened in a past life? But the fact is, it stays in our auric body, and then when we get a physical body. So people who have injuries, who have, been hanged as a witch, which probably several people in Lily have.
Even though we're the farthest thing from it.
No, I'm talking about past lives,
Okay, right.
Anytime you practice any kind of spiritualism, you were up for grabs. If someone wanted to say you were a witch, if you practice any kind of spiritual, herbal, healing, whatever technique, there was a long time when that was considered, witchery. Anyway, so if you were hanged, or if your head was chopped off because of treason, or you could have arthritis in your neck, if you were an injury where you were in a stagecoach that had crashed and you broke your legs, you could have arthritis in your knees and your ankles. These things come back. And I've actually seen people who have healed themselves physically by rescripting the trauma, the physical trauma from a past life. It's amazing to me. I had one client who who had fertility issues. She couldn't get pregnant. She had tried for years. She came to a class at Lilydale. She was in the assembly hall. And she said, what do you do for fertility issues? And right then, I do past life readings, and I saw over her head that she was a pioneer woman with like 10 kids under the age of 12. And she was resenting. She loved her kids and she wanted to love them. But, she had babies hanging on her skirt, and she's trying to lug buckets up from the well and all this different stuff. And I got in her head at that life, and it was like, I can't have any more kids. I can't have any more kids. We make these intentions in past lives. Men aren't trustworthy. I can't have kids. I can't make money. I'm a servant. There are a lot of people who can't make money now and can't seem to get to the next level because they spent past lives in servitude and they were stuck at a level. Okay. So she was doing that. And so we did I told her how to rescript it. I gave her some affirmations and, she left the seminar. And the next year, we were at a restaurant nearby and she was there and she said, "Come here, I want you to meet someone." And it was her 8-month-old baby. Aww. After 2 years of having fertility treatments and only having one ovary, she was able to have a baby because she rescripted it and changed all the energy around that. Mm-hmm. I can't have any more kids.
Wow.
It's amazing the intentions we make in our past lives, how they linger with us now.
That's right. And our current ones too. It behooves
that's a guarantee.
A bit more conscious of our words and deeds.
That's right.
When we think about karma, we do think about past life or we think, next life I'll deal with that. Well, deal with it in the here and now. Have that instant karma understanding of what you're promoting. And I think that's a great example of rescripting out of it. I see someone has a question about, what about being very claustrophobic regarding past life?
Claustrophobic, you were probably in some sort of jail or cell and held prisoner. In fact, I'm hearing yes. So that means that happened 3 times for you. You were either held in some cell, and I'm getting stuff in my lungs. It was dirty, dank, mildewy. You were a prisoner 3 times in different types of very small places that you couldn't get out of. You can rescript that. See yourself getting up, telling the person that's running the jail, "I want to leave," and they go, "Oh, okay, sure." Or you can see yourself at trial and say, "You really don't want to do this." And the judge goes, "Yeah, you're right." And you have everyone agreeing with you. That's the thing with rescripting. You have the power. You see yourself as the powerful, valuable, and deserving one, and you direct the destiny. So visualize yourself getting up or just not even going to the cell. But I did hear 3 yeses, so that happened 3 times for you. One I see more as a closet. I have to say, and I'm sorry, we're not supposed to do readings. I'm sorry. I'm picking up this energy. I just got to get it out. So and one of those 3 things, you were a child and locked up in a closet as a form of, discipline. I'm done.
Well, the point being that, allowing that self-expression, that finally the voice will be heard and that you can come out of whatever the trap is that you felt in your life, the entrapment.
Right.
And that's forward.
That would be a good reason to do a regression to find out, was it that I was being, stifled for my spiritual practices? Because then you would want an affirmation. It's safe and comfortable for me to practice my spiritual arts. It's safe and comfortable for me to be public with my spiritual practices. If that's one of the things you want to know. So these are the things that regressions and past life readings can help us find out. If it was a childhood form of discipline, then you have to see yourself getting bigger and saying, "I direct my life and I deserve to be treated with respect. And you're right, I deserve to speak my truth." If I'm being disciplined for speaking up, the old saying, children should be seen and not heard. If that's the case, then it's safe and comfortable for me to speak my truth. And I am doing it in this life. You have to follow it up with behaving in this life with the intentions of healing from past lives.
See, that is a key ingredient, Sandy. Because if you can't just say, "Oh, I want this to be over." You have to really get into that, the deeply nuanced energy that's helping you to achieve spiritual divorce from some of those things of the past, and that we don't have to keep lugging it into our future.
Right.
we can feel the chains of the past so strongly, but we break those chains. We break free of them and create and manifest a different reality for ourselves. And sometimes it's about reorienting not just our reactions, but then how we interact with other people going forward.
That's key. That is huge, because most people have a pattern of interaction. They either become passive, or they're aggressive, or they're expressive until they get fearful, and then they shut down. Fear of confrontation. So let's look at your present patterns of reacting and interacting with people. Mm-hmm. And the key conclusion that you must choose to make now is I am equal, not I am inferior, I am powerless, or I am superior, everyone else is a jerk. Neither of these are your truth. Neither of these are your truth. You are equal, and you have equal power and deserving. You're a child of God. And by virtue of your divine legacy, you are unlimited in value and power and worthiness. And you are equal to everybody, and every soul is equal. So treat yourself that way and give yourself the power to speak up and to direct your life and set your goals and make them a priority. And you don't have to underreact or overreact. Because if you live in present equanimity and understanding of your soul intention and your soul power, you can just understand, respond, and then do what you need to do to honor yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an excellent point. And I don't want people to start thinking, well, I need to tell so-and-so they have a karmic block. Let's just talk about that, and then we'll talk about your workshop. Because sometimes people they start to say, "Well, I watched a video." I think what your problem is that you had a past life, that such and such happened.
I love it.
People, because
I love it.
What happens is people, when they get a little bit of the fix in, they want to fix others. What would you say to someone like that?
What I say is that we are not responsible, nor can we change other people's karma. And you cannot ever direct your karma in terms or choose to see your karma as changing someone else's karma. I have seen this with couples and dealt with it. You cannot make someone else change their karma. So you need to let them find out for themselves. If you tell someone, gee, you're arrogant, so you have a karmic block somewhere. If you tell them that, that's a form of judgment. A judgment is another negative karmic source. You can say, I don't deserve that kind of arrogance. I don't deserve name calling. I feel that if we're going to continue to have a relationship, then I need to be treated with respect. See, that's how you do it. You do it by dealing with your karma related to the person. And you don't make a judgment about other people. Judgment is, I've got a funny story. Do we have time?
Yes, do it. Do it.
I'll come back to this. I was driving with my son. I tell this, and I'll probably tell this in Lilydale too, but I was driving with my son, and it was after I had started menopause, and I was having a hot flash, and he was driving the car, and it was like a crisp fall day, a very cool fall day. And I said, honey, we were on the freeway. I said, honey, can you put on the air conditioning? I'm having a hot flash. And he's like, Mom, it's cold out. The heat's not on. You don't need the air conditioning. I said, honey, I'm just really uncomfortable right now. Just turn it on for a minute. Mom, no, it's cold. I said, honey, if you don't have compassion for what I'm going through, you're going to come back as a woman. And you're going to have a horrible menopause. And he's like, I'm never coming back as a woman. And then just seconds later, he reaches over and turns on the air conditioning, just in case. It's hysterical. But it's true. If we don't have compassion for what people are going through, we'll have to come back and live their story. We'll have to come back to understand what they're going through. So yes, if a person is arrogant and you want to say, shut the heck up, and is criticizing you, but you don't have to tell them that it's their karma. You need to say, this is inappropriate behavior, at least when you're with me. You may get away with it with someone else, but I'm not taking it anymore. I am only accepting kind, respectful behavior. That's it. And then you act on it. You don't stay in that relationship, or you reduce your exposure. Like if it's a parent or something and you have to, for some reason, stay, you reduce your exposure. That we can only take, because if a person is being horrible to you, you better believe there's a shared karma in there.
Absolutely. No, I just have to say, somebody commented, I need to tell my husband that Sandy is not recommending that you pull the past life or karmic in the future or any of that. So she's not recommending, despite her story, that you use this as a way of getting what you want.
Well, the thing is, if what you want is reasonable, you can express that, this is difficult for me and I need some compassion here.
Yes, there we go.
And if you want to say, I heard a woman tell this story and tell the whole story, then you're not judging.
You're just planting a seed. But it is really the point that Sandy's making is that each one of us has our own individual spiritual homework. We can't do someone else's homework.
No.
The universe always knows whose name gets the check mark, is the way I like to put it.
Yeah.
And it's something that they have to work through on their own. When we have a few of these little knowledge points, it behooves us to use our power wisely. Yeah. Is what I will say. Now, I really want to have you share with folks today about your upcoming workshop for the 2024 summer season. You're going to be here for Saturday, July 20th, and it's called Clear Your Karmic Blocks to Love, Wealth, and Happiness.
Yeah, and we're going to be
doing workshop.
Yeah, and I'm going to be teaching karmic clues. What are the clues that you need to change? And it goes across the board. It's very interesting. And also how to do karmic investigation. We're going to not do a regression. We're going to do a viewing. So it's real easy. It's not like you have to be all deep hypnotized, that type of thing. We're just going to do a viewing where you'll find out what happened to create the present karma. We're going to do that in life relating to money, health, or anything, but we're also doing one in relating to relationships. And then we're going to be rescripting those, and then talking about how to apply the lesson in this life, and also affirmations. There's a bunch of things that we're going to be doing that cover all the stuff we talked about in much deeper detail.
I think that's
practices and a couple processes. I think 2 regressions, 2 viewings, and 2 rescripting. And that shifts. People have come to me afterwards, like the lady with the baby. She did it in a class, for God's sake. And people come to me all the time and say, "My God, it changed everything."
Especially because when they've looked at it from all other angles, like scientifically, they've ruled out, they've taken a medicine for this. They have tried to deal with it in a regular therapy kind of way, or, all the different measures people try to take to deal with acute or chronic conditions emotionally and physically in their life. And when they get to that place of, okay, I need to look at the spiritual, energetic framework that I've set myself up into. Yeah. And how do I renovate this house, so to speak, so that it's something that I really feel so happy to live in, and to have this experience in life. I think it really gives people a lot of hope, and especially if they're willing to put right practice and right intention toward that work. Those are what I consider to be 2 main ingredients in spiritual unfoldment in the journey.
It's true. And to renovate a house, you have to have a good foundation. And your foundation is built on your core beliefs, and your beliefs come from your history in this life and probably from past lives. When you want to believe in yourself, in your power, in your value, in your ability to make your goals happen, and you're deserving of all the wonderful things the universe has to offer. And you also want to believe that the universe is abundant and you can achieve the things that you want.
That's right.
So this is the foundation of this renovation. And so again, I said, look at your present things. If you have a belief system that, puts other people first, or makes you be a caretaker, or makes you be worrisome, fearful, depressed, then you need to look at that and say, where does it come from? You can deal with it in present life and go to therapy or do whatever you need to do now, but you can probably find a past life thing that you could probably reverse.
Mm-hmm. A past life or a present life.
Yeah, absolutely. That you can absolutely, if you have things like, self-loathing, fear, obsessions, worry, that is not just past life. It is brought into, even if it wasn't a past life, this is a life of repetition, and it was brought into the foundation, the creating of your belief system in this life, which usually goes back to parenting, and that can be dealt with. That absolutely can be dealt with. I mean, I was a psychologist in a private practice for over 25 years, and that's what we did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Belief systems.
I think it's wonderful when people are able to change those belief systems, move themselves out of perceived victimhood.
Yeah.
In those spaces, and move themselves into a spiritual jet propel. Because, what I know we have to close out our show today, but once people clear a karmic block, there is a jet propel that can.
It is an accelerant.
So what do they do? Because they're not used to warp speed.
Well, it's joyous, and you have to let yourself adjust to it, and always bring in the energy of honoring and balance. Now, before we go, can I just mention my book that just came out yesterday, The Hidden Power of Your Past Lives? And it's actually not just came out, it's reformatted, but what just came out yesterday is the audiobook. So, and I have a thing, if you want to go to sandrataylor.net, there's a link there, and I'm giving free, like a drawing for a free reading, and a webinar on past lives, and a webinar on Akashic records. So there's some free bonus gifts for that too. So go to sandrataylor.net and check out The Hidden Power of Your Past Lives. I'm very excited about it because they sold out, and they finally reprinted. They had to reformat it to reprint it. So it's finally back and available to everybody. And it's the first time in audio. I spent a week in the studio reading it. I love it.
So you were like, keep your voice clear for a whole week. Oh, that's great. What a great resource for folks. So I'm glad that they'll be able to visit your website for more information about that. And also, click the link in the post so that you can join Sandy this summer for her wonderful workshop. And also tune in for other workshops that are coming for the summer season. It starts June 21st this year, runs to September 1st. There are daily events, message services, healing services, many workshops, and guest presenters that come. And it's just a beautiful time of year to visit Willydale. So I encourage people to make your plans if you haven't already, because the guest houses are getting full, mediums are getting booked up, and now's the time to make sure you get your plans made.
Yeah, if you come to my seminar, tell me that you saw me on Willa's show, and we can gab about if you have any questions, and we'll figure things out for you.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that people make sure you mention that, folks, when you go to her workshop on that July 20th date. And thank you so much for being on the show today, Sandy. It's been really wonderful to have you as our guest today. And you gave people some really practical tips and understandings of how to clear the karmic blocks in their lives. And I say that in the plural, very plural sense.
But well, thank you, Willa. I really, really appreciate it. I have to tell you, I'm interviewed a lot, and you can tell people who are really genuine, and you are one of those people. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for the compliment. I do take it for what it is. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful you were here today. People, tune in next week for another great show of Wednesdays with Willa. I'm going to have Pam Coronado on the show, and we're going to be talking about finding missing people. So there you go. That'll be a good one. Another good one. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.